Yep.
Oh, I made a hole in my paper.
And the document is, which I did send this to you, so let me just do that. And then, where did I just share?
I almost grabbed your drink.
No, your cups are all the same color.
I know, but mine has Minnie Mouse, so we know the difference.
Mine has the little lid thingy.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start. The video's already going. I just have it keep going, so
Yeah.
I'm just gonna have time. But, so we're gonna meet today to talk about the observation that I did with you. And I'm just gonna kind of remind you when I came, because I know it was last week and a lot has passed since then. So when I came, you had done a read aloud on the carpet, and you were talking through the students about their symbol and what a symbol is. And then they actually had to describe what it meant, what it was to them. And then I saw that afterwards, that's when they were going to go brainstorm their symbols. So that was the day that I
Yes.
observed. So I really just want to know, like, how do you think, and you can talk about the whole lesson, not just what I observed, but how do you think the lesson went?
I think it went well. I like starting.
It's me.
I kind of like when I have like, a literary connection to it. So I think starting with a book kind of gets them set a good foundation of what they're going into, and also just kind of gives them another example of what we're working on, what our design challenge really is.
Yeah.
So I think setting them up like that went well. Then the brainstorming, I think I got to hear a lot of the creative sides of them, and I got to hear a lot of collaboration. Overall, I think it went well. I'm sure there's always like areas of improvement, and so I'm like open to new ideas and stuff.
Okay. I like that you're open to new ideas. If there's like anything like specific about the lesson that you're like, ooh, I really liked that, or ooh, maybe I didn't like necessarily love that part of it, or just reflecting on it.
Okay, can we
I-
pause for a second? I'm trying to figure out a way to hold this without messing it up.
Do you need like
There you go. Ah, I sticked it in this thing.
okay,
There you go.
I'll just edit it. Great.
One of the things I wish I did was almost had like one of my own examples to show them,
Okay.
to kind of show them my brainstorming, because I know I did it the day prior or a few days prior, but almost like refreshing their memory a little bit to just kind of bring up past knowledge.
Yeah, no, that's a great connection, because whenever you're with students, a lot of times the next day, they don't really remember what happened the day before.
Yeah.
So they come back to the whole group, they come back to that place, and they're like, they don't remember what they did the day before. So I think that's a great strategy to like build their prior knowledge and like, hey, remember yesterday we talked about this in our book and we saw these things. Can you like give me an example of when you saw that, or can someone raise your hand and tell me like and connect it to the learning from the day before is really helpful. So kids can kind of get in like the mindset of where they are.
Yeah.
So that's great.
Definitely.
But I'm gonna go through and actually walk through what I observed.
Yeah.
Just going through my notes, and I want you to look with me.
Yeah.
So you can see what I was able to take away, because I was very pleased to come into your classroom and super excited to talk about it. So I'll just go through it step by step, because this is how we do our evaluations.
Okay.
So your door was locked when I came in, so we just checked that because that's just a safety procedure. And I came in at the beginning of your lesson, so I actually got to see them transition from the restroom break to in here, which was great. And then when I walked in, you were teaching right from the front of the room, engaging those students, and they were all on the carpet. And I actually really like that you have those dots. Do they have assigned spots on those dots?
For this class, I do not have assigned spots.
Okay, that's fine.
I let them choose freely, but if needed free direction, I will probably let them.
Nice. And then when I was in there, the students were doing all of these things. They were listening to your direct instruction. And then there were only a few students I noticed who were talking while you were talking, but it was really just a couple in the back. And that was just at the beginning when you were reading through the story.
Right.
You had 18 students in your classroom, and it fluctuated between 16 and 17 being on task. There were 2 specific boys, I think, in the back that I noticed. They were either messing with this water bottle, or they were kind of turning and talking to each other. But your objective was posted. You did reference, and even though you said that's something you want to work on is reference previous learning, you actually did talk about how yesterday y'all worked on symbols.
It's been so long.
And it has been since last week since you did it. And you did reference that learning with them, and then you went into your lessons. So you actually did do that, but
I
maybe
guess
just
wanting more of a visual is what I'm going for, maybe.
like to put it on your board
Yeah.
so they can see that visual. I think that's a good idea because then it can connect to what
Right.
they're doing. That's a great strategy. You did redirect the students about 1 to 2 times just to gain their
Right.
focus, which was good. Some students were off task, and that was specifically when they were on the carpet. And what I noted was that you ignored their behavior. So I was going to ask, when they were on the carpet, it was ignoring their behavior, like one of your strategies, or what do you do when the kids are on the carpet like that?
I think it kind of depends on what kind of behavior is. Some of it I feel like is attention seeking, so I choose to ignore it.
Okay.
Other times if it's being disruptive to like other students and other students are noting to it, then I'll address it.
Okay. And then these are some things that I saw that I just felt like you did a great job with. You had very clear routines and procedures when they came in. They immediately knew to go and sit on the carpet and sit on a dot. None of them were not on a dot, like they were all on a dot. Especially at your bathroom break, like they all had their procedure down. And when I was watching you, they were all like sitting and like waiting patiently to go or waiting for that restroom. And then in the classroom, you had a very strong voice, like you connected with them easily, like you were confident, and you internalized your lesson plan. So meaning that you weren't constantly having to reference something or look at a lesson plan. You just knew what you were doing. That doesn't always come naturally for first-year teachers, so that was impressive that you were able to do that.
Thank you. That made me feel good.
Yeah, no, you should be proud of yourself. You're working hard, especially with the groups that you have. So you did have very crisp instructions. You didn't have to like reiterate things all the time. You were able to use the word symbol and what does that represent, and they understood and were clear because you had clearly gone over those vocab words before. You did scan the room many, many times as you were looking up from your book. You didn't just keep your book right here. You had it like out to the side and were able to turn and look at the students. And then as they were answering questions, that you gave them good feedback. So it wasn't just, okay, you got that right and moved on. They were actually able to, you gave them feedback on what they said, which I really liked. My one critique only in this area was that you did turn your back when you were writing on the board. And I just noticed that it's a very minor critique, very minor. But I was just like wondering, what do you think would be a better strategy, or how could you help yourself whenever students, because there were a few students that were not engaged, so like what are some ways that you could help yourself not just stay on that board, or how could you maintain their focus if you are needing to write on the board?
Probably just offering more opportunities for them to come up to the board, have them work on it. I can't remember exactly what I was doing on the board. But yeah, probably just having more of those opportunities for them to do it themselves instead of watching me, or just already having it on the slide or something.
Student engagement is huge, and especially with this class, because we looked in like it's very high GT student.
Right.
Like having them participate and be a part is huge in them wanting to be on task.
Right.
So I love that you're able to notice that, because if they are interacting and engaging And so, like, how could you in that scenario have engaged those students on the board? I think you were writing
I can't remember what I was
about, I think it was specific symbols. Do you remember?
To the values, yeah.
Yeah,
like
the
within
values.
Oh,
Lincoln
the
values.
values.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'd probably have them come up and write them. Or I could do some sort of like sort and have like many different things and have them do like values, not values type thing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
No,
I'm
that's
just
a
thinking
great
out loud.
idea. No, that's a great space to think out loud. No, that'd be a good idea. And they could even, you could even like while one is coming up, like start discussing like
Right.
another topic,
Yeah.
and then be ready to call on that next person.
Mm-hmm.
Or the person that writes it then gets to like hand it off.
Yeah.
That way they all feel like they're really interacting
Right.
with what's going on. And then I talked about how you built momentum. You created excitement, especially with the book. Like you really got the kids excited in the
Mhm.
learning. Like they were like glued into this book about symbols. I don't remember which symbol you discussed. I think it was.
Was it the
I wanna s-
White House?
I want to say it was the White House or Abraham Lincoln, or I don't remember which one it was.
Is one of those.
But they were really engaged and they
Mhm.
wanted to learn. So you did a good job building that momentum to make them want to come. And then pacing, you did a great job with going from one thing to the next to the next. You didn't linger too long.
Mhm.
Sometimes we want to, as teachers, to let's just read this read aloud, but you have to move on and
Right.
actually get to the activities. So I could tell that you had that like timestamps in your head for what you
Mhm.
wanted to do, which was great. You increase rate of questioning when needed. So you actually asked questions about the student answers. You didn't just let them answers, which
Mhm.
kind of went with the feedback I was talking about earlier.
Yeah.
You also called on students. I would love to see you actually call on students that might be off task.
Okay.
Why do you think that might be helpful to call on students?
Just to see if they're listening, paying attention.
Mhm. It's a great way to just catch their
Mhm.
attention. And then, let's see. Mostly that was what I had for your evaluation. But I think I want to go into what I want your goals to be.
Okay.
Because these were the things that I really noticed. This is where I felt like you really shined.
Okay.
And that was that you did a great job like setting the tone for your classroom, and you did a great job of knowing what your routines and procedures are.
Mm-hmm.
So when they were in here, they knew to come to the carpet. They knew to turn their voice off and listen. I just have some like minor tweaks that I think we
Yeah.
can work on. And one of them has to do with the whole group setting.
Mm-hmm.
So I know I talked about those two boys. So what are your routines and procedures for their expectations for the carpet learning, specifically on the carpet?
Yeah. I usually I have a talking stick.
Okay.
So if they're not holding the talking stick, it's my turn to talk.
Okay.
And then I also do, what is it called? What am I thinking? Oh, I tell them to like hold their questions and comments till the
Mhm.
end. But probably some ideas. Or are we getting into that later?
Yeah, no, go for it. Any
Um,
ideas that you have?
I know I have a very chatty group,
Mm-hmm.
so maybe just allowing more time to do a turn and talk, just so they can get out the chatting, and probably have assigned seats would probably help out too.
A turn and talk would be amazing. That was actually my goal for you.
Oh, okay.
So you're right on track. Like you're able to read, and that's great because you're able to read your students and know, hey, this is a more talkative group. They have a
Mhm.
lot of ideas. Engaging them on the board would be a great idea. Like that's a great strategy that you came up with. And another one is turn and talks.
Mhm.
And so like my action step for you was that to engage all students and implement turn and talk during whole group instruction.
Awesome.
I think that would really benefit those kids because they're not only having to process the information, but now they get to share.
Right.
Because what I was noticing and observing was there was like so many hands in the air, and it was almost to the point of where like they needed to
Yeah,
talk and
they
like
need to say something.
talk through it.
Right.
Whenever they are on the carpet, how could we get them to turn and talk? What are some ways that we could engage those students?
Probably just allowing more open-ended questions.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't think of off the top of my head.
No, yeah, definitely. Open-ended questions are great. But like, how are you gonna come up with those questions, those open-ended
Oh.
questions?
It depends. If I'm reading from a book, I feel like any questions that I have in my head that I want to allow, like, ask them, they could probably just do a turn and talk there. Or before a lesson, before I even start something, what do you think it's gonna be about? What do you think we're gonna talk about? Maybe even do like a beginning, middle, and end
Okay.
type situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So
Those are
really,
just some of my ideas.
yeah, those are some good ideas, and a lot of times, like, we want those questions to like really have a purpose. We don't
Mhm.
want to just have questions just to have them as like
Right.
a filler. Okay, now y'all can talk. You
Right.
know. So really think about like what you're tying it to. So what would be a good strategy for what you could tie it to in your lesson?
Oh, the objectives, tying it to the objectives.
Definitely.
Even just what I feel like I've noticed if they're needing more support in an area.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe them just hearing, maybe it's not working, like hearing from me, they need to hear it from another student so they can turn and talk.
Definitely. Yeah, the objective I think is probably like the most important thing where you can pull those questioning skills
Mhm.
because that's ultimately what we want them to be able to walk away
Right.
with, right? So whenever you're reading a book and like, oh, I noticed we need to talk about text and graphic features.
Right.
And like that's our objective for today is talking about text and graphic features. You could even be like, on this page, what text and graphic features are you seeing? All right, you have 30 seconds, turn and talk to your neighbor, go.
Mm-hmm.
And then they can actually have a chance to
Right.
say, and you can hold the book, what text and graphic features they're seeing,
Yeah.
like actually talk through it. Excuse me. Let's see, what else do I want to go over? So, what's my timestamp right now? How long is it?
17.
17. Jesus, so long.
No.
Oh,
It has to be 45.
yes, has to be 45. I'll cut this out, but that's fine. But yes, no, I think you make a great point that these students really do need times where they're talking, they're communicating
Mhm.
with each other, because ultimately this group can be called higher. Like
Mhm.
what we're seeing is you're showing me that it's a high GT student group,
Right.
and they need more. And honestly, the more you're engaging them in your lesson and the more that they are actually a part of what you're doing, the more on task they're going to be.
Right.
Now, these are very minor adjustments that can be made because you're doing a fantastic job.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not easy being a first year teacher. Like, it does take time to build that classroom culture.
Right.
So one of my just advice for you is that it's never a bad time to reset. It's
Mhm.
never a bad time to go over those expectations again. In my classroom, I actually every day we go over what does it look like and what does it sound like for every station, every time we come to the carpet, because in their little brains they do forget.
Mm-hmm.
And when they come in the next day, they are just like, oh, another day. And sometimes they really do not remember how to line up quietly or how to sit on their dot spot. So just be mindful that if you feel like you're repeating yourself over and over again, it's okay.
Okay.
And it's not something that you should judge yourself on or think, oh, I keep saying this. No, you want to say it until the point where they're like, oh, you know, Mrs.
Mhm.
Lyman, I have to sit crisscross, voice off, facing forward. But I, like, every single day, if you're in my room, like, I constantly am saying what I expect of them.
Mm-hmm.
So I was wondering, before we go into actually, I want to practice you doing this strategy, this turn and talk strategy,
Yeah.
with a lesson that you're going to do. So it could be tomorrow's lesson, something
Okay.
that you're doing in class. But before we do practice that, I just want to know what are some like routines and procedures you're doing right now just to transition, like from the carpet, then they transition to do like the activity. Do you
Mhm.
have a specific voice level? What does it look like when you send them off?
I usually say voice level 0 when they go back
Okay.
to their desk, just so it doesn't cause chaos. Some days I kind of mix it up where I let them go back the whole class, or I will call by rows.
Okay.
But yeah, those are usually voice level 0, walk back to your seat, or if they're coming down to the carpet, pushing your chair, come out of voice level 0, and I usually will call by tables.
So if they don't do that, what's your like procedure?
I
or
have them
follow-up?
try again.
Okay.
I make them go back.
Okay. So you have them repeat the
Mhm.
instruction.
With the,
And you can even, if there's like more than 6 or more than 7 of them that don't do it,
Mhm.
make the whole class do it again.
Yeah.
You know, like don't be afraid that, oh, only 5 of them are off task, but they all made it. Like,
Yeah.
okay, let's just continue. Like, don't be afraid to be like, nope, we're all doing
Mhm.
it. This is what we're all expected to do. This is our class culture,
Right.
and have them all come back and try again. And if you even have to do it 3, 4, 5 times,
Mhm.
rather you set those expectations now, so that way come December, that January, February, they know exactly what you want and
Right.
aren't tempted to try to do something different.
Mhm.
Do you have anything to add about routines?
The big thing I would say, and I think you hit it, is Ms. Lyman, is being consistent. Just knowing what the expectation is,
Mhm.
and then of course you're going to monitor and adjust as you go, but then just being consistent, like, and it can be, that goes with any kind of transition, any kind of expectation. If it's from the carpet here, if they're allowed, go to the backpacks or not, like you got to think like sharpen pencils,
Mhm.
how do they walk in,
Yeah.
what's the first thing they do. It's almost like you have to do it with them.
Mhm.
So kind of like what you said, that you wanted to have like a visual.
Mhm.
Think of like you are creating that visual for them.
Right.
So if it's you sitting at a student's desk, standing up, pushing the chair,
Mhm.
you walk to a dot and you sit and you like you actually sit at the
Model it.
dot and model it,
Yeah.
and like show them which way I want your body to be facing.
Mhm.
That's very powerful for some students
Right.
because they're able to see it. They, and they could, okay, now I know what to do. Or when you come in, borrow a kid's backpack. I got my backpack. You're gonna come. You're gonna put it on the hook. I want you to open. And it might be like, sometimes we think, hey, by 3rd grade, they should know. Well,
Mhm.
think about it. Every year, every teacher has very different expectations.
Yeah.
So it's, yes, they all have to hang their backpack. They all have to come to the carpet. But it depends on that teacher,
Right.
what they have expected from them.
Mhm.
So it's not always the same for everybody.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
So really, just be consistent in what you do and don't change it. Like,
Right.
always have the same procedure when they come in. Always have the
Right.
procedure when they line up, which you're already doing a great job of. But just like to like make sure that they're constantly
Yeah.
on task.
I think that's definitely something I don't want to say like regret, but like wish I was harder on.
And you can start that tomorrow.
Yeah.
You know?
But
Because I
It-
noticed
it-
like some of these kids are putting their backpacks on, like randomly on the back of their seat. I'm like, where did that come from? It's so
and-
random. I'm like, we've
and-
never done that.
and know that that's the first step in, like, if you look at the trajectory of like your instruction, right?
Mhm.
You have the management side, and we have
Right.
always the instruction, right? The rigor.
Mhm. It's 2 sides.
It's 2 sides, like, think about it. And so in order for them to get the instruction, right?
Mhm.
Because that's where we spend most of our time. You go
Right.
to planning every day, you make copies,
Right.
you're doing all this, thinking about how I'm going to teach it, finding the right visuals. But if that management side is not there, then you got to think, are they really engaged in all the planning,
Mhm.
copies, all that time you spent? Probably not. So
Right.
you do want to, even though you might feel like, oh my goodness, I didn't get through everything I was supposed to do today. Take a deep breath. You will get there, but
We
if
have
the
to do
management piece
part.
is not
Yeah.
in there,
Mhm.
then you got to think long term. You're gonna be doing first day, every day,
Right.
every day. So you do have to, like, if you're starting noticing like, wow, now their backpacks, why are they okay? We're gonna reset.
Mhm.
I've been noticing like a circle up. You
Mhm.
can even do that, or just talking to them. That okay, the expectation is you are and and it's like you're
And
over
follow
and
through
over.
with the expectation, because as soon as they start saying, "Oh, she doesn't mind that I have my backpack on my chair. Oh, she doesn't mind that I went and sharpened my pencils. Oh, she doesn't mind." Then there's like kind of they're pulling loose strings
Right.
to the point where you're like, "Wait, I didn't say that. I didn't do that." And it kind of trickles. It doesn't happen all at once. It like slowly
Yeah.
happens. But you want to get to a point where you're like, "No, this is my room. These are my expectations. This is how we follow it." And honestly, at first they might be like, "Oh, Mrs. Weir, like, or Miss Weir, like, oh, you're being so strict," but at the end of the day, they're gonna really respect you for it because they know what to expect when they come in,
Right.
and they know what to expect. Your expectations are when they come to the carpet, and they know their backpack needs to be where it should be, and it kind of actually makes them feel more secure in their learning to do better
Have
in
a
their
routine.
learning. If you're like, so even tomorrow, you could start your circle up and say, "Hey, I've noticed," or even if you're not a circle with them, but when they first come in, "I've noticed some of you have been putting your backpack on your chair. Is that something that we decided we were gonna do? Like, is that something that I like?" And they're like, "No." I was like, "Where do backpacks go? On a hook. Okay, if your backpack is on a chair, I need you to get up and go put it on a hook because that's the expectation." And just really showing them that, hey, I mean this, and I'm gonna follow through with this.
Right.
Because I'll be honest, I've seen other teachers where they don't, and they just, "Oh, it's fine. That's a good student. Oh, it's okay." Like, they're really helpful. I'll let them. And then closer to end of year, they're like, "I can't get anything done because now we're just doing what we want."
Right.
But so I just didn't know if there's anything extra or that you think you could do to help reiterate those things.
Yeah, I think definitely just making those clear expectations again in every single day. Because I feel like I say them, but sometimes I let things slide, which I need to be better about.
Yeah.
I need to be just, this is what we've decided. These are my expectations. You have to follow them.
And it really is just practice. And it honestly, it feels a little uncomfortable as a teacher. Because you're like, I've said every day, I say, "Backpack on a hook. Go get your pencil off the desk.
Right.
Don't sharpen the pencils, just grab a new one."
Yeah.
And it's going to sound like you're almost like a parrot repeating yourself. But the more you do it, like, the better the kids will be, the more instruction time you'll have, and then they'll feel more on track with what they're doing.
Yeah.
Because I know you have talked
Yeah.
about how sometimes you don't feel like they get through instruction.
Yeah. And I think sometimes I've been thinking about how, like, it's like the little things I didn't touch on at the beginning of the year. Like the sharpener, it's on top of the tall case because we couldn't control ourselves.
Yeah.
So we have to earn it back. But just those like small things that I feel like I didn't touch on that I have to like go back,
Yeah.
go through my expectations for it.
And sometimes you just have to reflect on that because you learned a lot when you first came in. Like, all of our technology, all of ClassLink, how to lesson plan, how to differentiate those lesson plans, how to use a copier, like all those little things add up. But now that like you kind of have the swing of things and the hang of things, it's time to start like, okay, let's really solidify.
And you
Right.
could, yeah,
The
and you
small
could
things.
even like I used to be in 5th grade, so I used to say, coming into this new 9 weeks, now you're not just incoming like 5th graders. Now you're almost to the middle of the year as 5th graders. Now I have to start preparing you for when you go to middle school. So we're gonna change some of our procedures because at this time of year, you already know, but now we're gonna add this other layer to it, and I need you to do X, whatever it is, and just let him like. And even when I go to kinder, at the beginning of the year, beginning a line, a quiet line. It's hard for some of them that never been to pre-K, but then I say, okay, by now you should be able to walk in a line.
Right.
But now I'm gonna add one more thing. Now we're gonna be like if there's a gap, we're not gonna run to fill in the gap. Like you could add a couple of things to it, like build up that routine, and so and then just be like transparent with the kiddos. The kiddos need, like, I was very open with my kids. I'll be like, you know what, Miss Paniagua said that you can sharpen your pencils when you went to small group, but I've been noticing that most students spend their time sharpening their pencils and they're not getting to their stations.
Yeah.
So I have to change that. And like giving them a reason, because
Right.
sometimes they'll go, why are we not allowed to do that? Why not?
Raisins
What?
aren't really helpful.
You know, and so, but you're it's like using the engineering design process. You know, I tried it, now we're going to improve.
Mhm.
We're going to improve that. So let's think of some ways, and you can give them some of the power. What are some ways that will work? And I'm open to suggestions. Doesn't mean we're going to do what everybody says. And then, okay, what about this time? Okay, and then you kind of come up with
Mhm.
a way that it works. We're going to try it. If it works, we're going to keep it. If it doesn't work, we're going to change it. And that you also get some of that classroom buy-in because they're kind of helping you.
Right.
They can in everything because
Yeah.
there are certain things that, like safety, okay, we got to do it because we got to do it this way. But then there's other things that you can like, okay, maybe I can ask them for their feedback.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even sometimes asking for feedback on little things. Like I'll be in my classroom with my students and sometimes we'll be doing something and I'll say, hey, would you guys want me to read this out loud or do you want to listen to it?
Right.
It's like letting them know like this is our class culture and yours should be level 0 while you're listening on the carpet, but I do care about what you think and I want
Right.
you to be a part.
Yeah.
But I want to move into actually practicing turn and talks. And this might take a second to set up, but I kind of want you to pull up something. I don't know if you've worked on your slides for tomorrow or something
Or
you're
for
going to
next
work
week
on
that
for
you're gonna
next
read.
week or tomorrow.
It could be in
Um,
social studies, it could be reading.
But I want us to actually practice doing a turn and talk and like us looking at your
Okay.
objectives and
Yeah.
seeing how you can implement that like starting next week or even tomorrow. So, and you can move the camera with us. Just kind of film me as we go.
I am going.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. Oh, I used to love the booklets.
And I'm honestly gonna sit on the
Do you
carpet
want
like
to do
a kid.
text features?
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Or I have handwriting.
Miss Lyman, you've been walking all day. Are you sure you want me to get you a chair?
Yeah, do you want to try it?
Let me get you a chair.
I can use that.
Just because you've been shadowing all day,
know, I have.
you
Or do you want to do, we can do symbols again, I still have that one.
And we can redo if you wanna. I kind of want to do one that you're going to do. Are you gonna go over text and graphic features tomorrow before they start their work on their magazine again?
Oh, yeah, because we're going to do labeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Let's do that. Okay, so let's think. What is the? Do you have the objective for what goes with the text and graphic features? I can.
I do not. Oh,
Let's look.
analyze the use of text and graphic features to achieve specific purposes.
Okay. So what do we want? Looking at what you're given, what do you want their purpose to be?
I want their focus to be more on sidebars and labels.
Okay.
Actually, sorry, I'm thinking. Probably just the graphic features I have listed.
Okay. So what are you wanting them to be able to tell you on the? Let me look at
Probably
this.
what a sidebar is and what labels are for sure.
Do they need to be able to identify what those things
Identify,
are?
yes, identify what they are, and link them back to graphic features.
Okay.
Like not only understanding them, but also making the connection that they're a graphic feature.
And do they already know the difference between text and graphic, like what the difference is between those two?
Yes.
That might be a good thing to hint on, because like the text features deals with the actual words and the text, but we're moving into graphic features, which is the illustrations.
Right.
So you can either write on your board or think, what are some, I want you to think of maybe 3 questions, and I can give you some time to write it on a sticky note or something, but think of 3 questions that you could ask that talks about the difference between text and graphic features, and then them actually being able to explain those things. But think of 3
Questions for them?
questions. Yeah, for the kiddos to answer. I'll give you some time
For
to do that.
text and graphic, sorry.
Yeah. Like some questions that you could ask that they could turn and talk about.
Okay.
that will lead towards what you want to be the outcome.
Right.
You can just start recording.
Sorry about that.
It's not your fault.
Okay, so what is the difference between text and graphic features?
And then you're really going to focus on.
Graphic features.
Okay. So after they tell you the difference between them, then what are you wanting them to be able to understand before they go out to their
My
assignment?
worry is that they're gonna get confused with like, oh, but labels have words. I think the labels are connected to pictures. I don't know how to get there.
So,
And I guess for sidebars as well. Not
okay,
really labeled.
because they go with pictures,
Right.
right? So you might need to, you could add a photo on here
Mhm.
that has a picture with labels or a picture with the sidebar with it.
Mhm.
And just say, okay, look at these two. Which one is showing labels? Which one is showing a sidebar?
Okay.
And why? Turn and talk to your neighbor about how you know which is showing it.
And you had
labels
talked
and
about that as an
sidebars.
idea, like when Ms. Lyman asked you about an idea about how you can have you with the values. You said I could do some kind of a sort,
Right.
kind of the same idea. You show an image, and then you talk about, you know, if it's text features or graphic features and why.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good.
So which one is sidebar? Which one is labels? I could do the different, like, also something similar to the two pictures. Maybe which one's an image and which one's an illustration.
Yeah.
That throws them off.
That would be a good one too. You can have them compare those two.
Yeah.
And then talk about the differences and similarities.
Mm-hmm.
Cause that would be a good challenge for them.
Difference purpose.
Okay, so here's what we're gonna do. Now, you don't have those illustrations and pictures, you can have those for the kids, but what I want you to practice is actually doing a turn and talk.
Okay.
And I was gonna have you sit and talk with me, but,
Let me see if I can put the phone
see if
down.
we can set it up. I should just keep all these transitions in here, so. Yeah, we're gonna pretend to be the students and maybe try to be off task a little bit. And see, what would you do to redirect us? And it's good to practice it. This is just real stuff that we have to deal with.
Okay.
It's good to practice.
So I'm on my dot.
So I'm on my dot, she's on her dot. We're ready.
I need my water bottle though.
Oh, yes, that was important.
Since you're a student, can I call you Lily?
You can, you
Yeah.
call me our names.
Okay. I should know. Okay. So we're talking about. Okay, can someone tell me the difference between text and graphic features? Think about it for a second. Okay, and turn and talk to your partner.
Okay.
What are you doing?
I think text features is when, like, on the phone, is that when you text it? Is that what she talked about in class? Okay, no,
Okay, I'll
Graphic,
give
I
you
know
10
graphic
more
novels.
seconds.
okay. Graphic novels have pictures?
They do.
That
They
was the
do.
picture one, so the text
Mhm.
is
Like you use words.
the words?
And then graphic, like graphic novel.
Okay, and come back in 3, 2, 1. All right, can someone raise their hand and let me know what is the difference between text and graphic features? Yes.
So me and my partner were talking, and at first I thought I was thinking text like a phone,
Oh
but then I remember graphic features, my partner said, talked about graphic novels, and that made me think that's about the pictures, and text features is about the text.
You are so right. Yeah. So text features, we gotta think about the text. We gotta think about the words that it
Like
includes.
this, I like the waves in your hair.
Is there anything else you wanted to add, Lily?
But, my earrings, I got them in pocket.
Lily, is there anything else you want to add?
Oh, no.
Okay. Let's refocus.
Okay, pause. I want to pause you there. Okay, so we did like 3 different distractions,
Mm-hmm.
and you kind of kept going on with your lesson. And you didn't specifically address the actions you were doing. So at one point, she was tapping her water bottle.
Yeah.
I messed with her straw, and then I
And then she
played with
put
her
it on.
hair. So, looking at that, what are some things we could do to address that so the kids are focused. Because that's are little small things, but they can add up to their learning.
Yeah,
Think of everybody being able to do that.
right.
So you multiply that by 12 pairs that you have.
Well, water bottles, I'm gonna have them stay at the desk.
So then I'll be putting it at the desk. So
That's
That's a great, that'd be a good
Eliminates
one. Yeah,
one.
keep water bottles at your desk.
Okay.
Keep them at your desk. What was the other one? Playing with her
I was touching her water bottle, so that was
So
water
that's
bottle.
two.
And,
Yeah.
and then
playing
playing
with
with her hair.
Just reminder to keep your hands to yourself.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna do that for your next question. And
Okay.
this time, I want you to call us out
Okay.
and really say, hey, your hands are on her hair. I need you to put your hands in your lap and focus.
Okay.
Okay, yes, Miss Ruth.
Okay. What was my other question? Was it pictures? No. Yeah. Okay. Okay, I'm going to pull up these two images. Can you turn and talk to your partner? Which one is a sidebar and which one is labels?
I think I left something in my backpack.
Oh, let's make sure we're staying on the carpet. Oh, we're not at our backpacks right now.
Oh, okay, well, can I just get one thing?
Not right now. We are turning and talking to our partner.
Okay. I did get a joke. Okay, what do you think now?
Okay, I'll give you 10 more seconds.
At the sidebar and the label.
Okay, I'll look at the sidebar list. That was really good.
That was really good.
That was good. You immediately made eye contact with me, addressed it, said, nope, we're going back, turn and talk. So you really, those little things do add up. So
Yeah.
don't be shy to like even say their name. Lily, where are you going? Why are you walking over to the backpacks? Nope, sorry, we're at the carpet right now.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to like stop your
And
instruction.
some of them
Yeah.
give like, they want to give a whole reason.
Mm-hmm.
Which I
why
tried to
they
give a
go
little
in.
reason, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, nope, at this moment, you're here.
And so that was
At this
clear.
moment, you're here.
Because you were like, no, we're at the carpet right now. You're doing turn and talk with your partner. Oh, that's not an option, you know?
Okay.
But just really thinking about that when you're
Yeah.
doing turn talks, because they are gonna get to talk with their neighbor, they might
Right.
say things or do things that are out of the ordinary. So don't be afraid to be like, you making eye contact.
Mm-hmm.
No, your water bottle doesn't come on the carpet. Based on what I'm seeing in class, we can't handle that. So please go put it at your desk and come back.
Okay.
And give them like explicit instructions
Right.
on doing something and coming back.
Okay.
I think you're off to a good start. So
Yeah.
you should try it tomorrow.
Oh, I
with
definitely
that.
will.
Fine.
And maybe I'll see if I can like pop in and see what you're doing. But I think my only other thing is I do want to come and see you implementing turn and talks.
Yeah.
And see it happening in your classroom. So you can just email me when would be a good time, or if I can during my class time, if
Okay.
tomorrow works, I can just pop in really quickly.
Yeah.
And have someone just step in my room or monitor in the hallway, just so I can like see it with the kids.
Right.
But you're doing a really good job. You should be proud of yourself.
Thank
You
you.
are. Just minor tweaks that we just
Love
can work on.
affirmations.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I can do it.